I live in New York. I love New York. But obviously, today, it is Metropolis, right? All right. Well, I'm going to bring these awesome folks out here. We are going to get to some audience questions, but a couple house rules, a couple housekeeping tips. Keep it to one question per person. Make it an actual question. Let's avoid any special requests. And I love you, New York, but don't get too weird on me, okay? It's just my requests. All right, so without further ado, I want you to make a lot of noise. Of course, you know her as Lois Lane from Lois and Clark. Make some noise for Teri Hatcher! And look, right there is Dean Cain, both Clark Kent and Superman. Wow!
Holy smokes!
I can't hear anything.
It's there's a lot of noise. It's good. That's good noise.
Thank you, guys.
You guys are awesome.
Wow.
Well, like I said, welcome to Metropolis, guys. It's like a return visit for you. We're happy to have you both here on stage together. This is very exciting.
Yeah, that's great. We're happy to be here. Aren't you happy?
I'm very happy. I want to bring these guys with us everywhere we go, too. Because you guys are all right.
Okay, so I'm going to dive in.
That should be my new alarm clock. Yeah, you know, or my ringtone. Just them.
That would get me out of bed.
All right.
Yeah.
Just at the count of 3, everybody shout, Teri, wake up. 1, 2, 3.
That might be the most frightening alarm clock you could ever ask for.
But I think I might have to record it. We might have to do it again. I might have to get my phone out here and do it again. Anyways, thank you for that.
Well, okay, look, I mean, let's do some rundown from 1993 to 1997.
Can I just jump in real quick? How
You're
about
allowed
Teri's
to.
legs?
Oh.
Look at all that. Look at all that going on.
Wow. Thanks, Dean.
I'm sorry, we were talking about something?
I was trying to cover them up, but it's not.
That's what caught my attention.
It's not going to happen.
Dean, I specifically opened with, don't get too weird, New York, and right away.
I wanted to get in there before you said that.
Yeah. Okay, at the peak of this show, 15 million viewers. That's insane. Those are insane numbers then. It's insane numbers now. You know, and really, Lois and Clark, one of the top couples in pop culture. In fiction, we have Fred and Ginger, Shaggy and Scooby, and and Bogey and Bacall.
I have a Scooby-Doo van. My VW bus camper has Scooby-Doo curtains. So,
really?
Yeah, I have a Scooby-Doo van.
Do you have the actual mystery machine?
Yeah, well, yes. I made it into one.
A mystery machine.
Do you have Scooby snacks?
I'll have them if you want to come over.
Now we're talking.
Well, my first question is, Lois gets top billing on this show.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Lois and Clark.
Yes.
When you first found that out, what was your impression when they're like, okay, they're really putting Lois right out there front and center, and she is getting that first name in the title? Was that intimidating, exciting that you were getting that kind of role, that it was Lois right out front?
It was exciting, but it not in a way where it was about billing. I mean, I don't really think about it. But what it meant to me, the idea of Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, what it meant to me was not the billing order, but what they were going to put first and foremost was the romance of the relationship. You know, the sort of the comedy, the relationship between Lois and Clark and Lois and Superman. And so I thought that was an exciting new way to tell the story, as opposed to usually told through the adventures, you know, the fighting and the saving the world and all of that. And this,
which is also cool, by the way.
Yeah, which is definitely also cool. But this was putting the relationship first, and I thought that was really exciting. And I think at the time, that's what audiences responded to.
Well, yeah.
And That's what I responded to. I loved that part of our journey on the show.
I think that's absolutely true. And the funny thing is, like nowadays, if you did that, someone would say, "Oh, how progressive it's going to be." Starring, it's the woman first. It's the thing. That wasn't even a thought back then. It was just like say, it's cloudy outside. It's just stating a fact. It was Lois. She drove the episode. She drove all the things, and I think it was a testament to some advanced thinking, if you will.
But we did have a woman showrunner. I mean, show creator. So maybe that had something to do with it. Yes, Deborah Joy Levine.
Well, we also, Dean, it's, I don't know if I would say progressive, but certainly within nerd circles, it was sort of John Byrne recast Superman, where Superman was more of the character and Clark Kent was the true person. Do you think you could have played it the other way? Do you think you could have done it where Superman was the actual character and Clark was the facade, more of the, what we had traditionally seen, bumbling, not so capable Clark?
Well, no. No, I really liked the way they had that as Clark as the guy, and that was something we did differently. I mean, in fact, Clark was the real guy. Superman was the disguise that he put on so he could do those things. And it was really interesting. That was a really fresh take. That's Deborah Joy Levine. That was our creator, and she made that choice. And I thought that was brilliant. Mm-hmm. And as the time went on, I honestly much preferred playing Clark to Superman. Superman was the man of action, and Clark was the guy.
Oh, you just didn't want to be in the tights. But I mean, who would? Let's be honest.
I got used to it.
You did, and you pulled it off very well.
Thank you.
What was your first impression when you saw him in the full-on tights? And first off, let me just give it up for Dean Cain for the fact that the man was wearing tights. There was no fake muscles in that suit.
Yeah. Did I? No, you know what? So your suit and your original suit and I had a reunion without you in it.
That's wrong.
Yeah, I know.
That's wrong in every way.
Not that long ago. So DC Universe is a new digital platform. I don't know. Yeah, everybody's right. So Kevin Smith and I did a little interview on it as part of promoting that. And one of the things they had on the set was your original suit. And I remember I went and looked at it just on a mannequin. And the first thing I said to Kevin was, you got to give Dean props, because he wore that and pulled that off before anybody was doing all that fancy, plasticky sort of stuff that they wear in the movies now. Yeah. Good for you.
Thank you.
I mean,
it was all me all the time.
I'll do much love to Michael Keaton, but he was wearing a rubber suit as Batman right before you guys premiered. So
yeah, we didn't have that budget, so we were like, get in the gym. I said, okay, absolutely. I will admit a certain amount, because we both also did a little run on Supergirl, which is great fun. And I will admit some suit envy though. Like Melissa will be sitting there in her suit, and we're in between takes, and I'll be like, that's so cool. Can I just touch that little? I didn't have that.
Even I got, as Queen Rhea, I got a pretty cool suit on that. Yeah.
So, yes, you did.
Yes, I did.
So I'll be honest, I have suit envy. Okay. Yeah. It's out there. I'll say it.
I mean, speaking of Supergirl, each of your characters kind of were able to take on a villainous, role and a darker role with Jeremiah.
I think he's still a good guy. We'll find out, but I still think he's a good guy.
Has that been satisfying, though, kind of being in that super world, but taking on those sort of other shades of gray or darker sides?
Well, the biggest reason that I did it in the first place was because I really, there is nothing like the fans of Lois and Clark, and they are so devout. And so loyal, and I knew that they would get the biggest kick out of me showing up in that genre. So that was first and foremost why I did it.
Yeah.
And secondly, getting to play the most evil person in the world, and not just a person, because she was an alien. It was really fun as an actress to just turn off that morality gene in there at all, because I could just be as evil as I wanted to be, and I'd never really done that before, so that was really fun. People ask me if I think the character's coming back, and spoiler alert, if you saw it, you know, it doesn't look like that character's coming back. But
Pile
I
of
guess
ashes.
in that world, you never know.
Yeah.
You were a pile of ashes at the end, weren't you?
I was.
I don't know. People
Tough to come back from that one.
I don't even think I was a pile. I think first I was a pile, and then I
And it
blew
just
away.
blew away.
Yeah.
I don't know. People
that's
have
gonna
come
be a
back
tough
from
one.
worse. It's, you can be dead, but get better.
But they were a great cast, and the crew and everything. I had a really great time.
Yeah. Well, let's get ready to throw it to some audience questions.
Oh, no.
If you guys are ready for that. I actually don't see where the mics are, but I know they're out there.
No, I
We can't see anything from here,
We
by the
kind
way.
of can't see you, which is a little bit of a bummer.
Except
Well,
for you, sir. I can see you. Stop doing
Oh,
that.
him. I
Yeah.
can see him now.
Oh, there it is. Now
I
we have a
see
spot
that
on
man.
that. All right, yeah, let's start with a question over here
Saw that.
then. Hey.
Oh, wow.
I just project my voice. There you go. All right, with the Arrowverse opening up like multi-universes going back and forth with like Flash going into, you know, different universes, I've always looked at like Smallville as still living in like another universe, Lois and Clark still living in another universe. So if they ever wanted to do an episode of Lois and Clark like Flash or Supergirl visits, would you guys be up for that?
Of course. I would be amazing. I would love to do that.
I'll just say I think it needs more than an episode.
How about like a 6-part miniseries would be great.
Now we're having a conversation.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. I would love to see what Lois and Clark are up to 25 years later. You know, I think that'd be amazing. Just the possibilities are endless, and so I know I'd love to do it. And if I could have my Lois Lane, then I'd be very, very happy.
Oh, you can have me.
All right, we're in.
Thank you. Dean, you're great, and Teri, absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
You could just explain the absence, the 20-year absence, that you were lacing up those boots the whole time, those first season boots.
We changed them after season
Yeah.
1. We went Velcro. It was better. It looked better too.
Yeah. The
I'm not sure where those lacy boots went, but I'm sure they're in use today somewhere.
They're at the Superman Museum in Metropolis, actually, I think.
There you go.
I don't know why I know that, but here you go.
Why do you know that? Yes.
Take one over here. Hi.
Hi, my name is Jamie, and my question is that you were doing the superhero shows back then, and you're guest starring in them now. What's the biggest difference that you're noticing with the fans and with outside of actual, like, the filming elements? Because I know the suits are different and such, but...
Very different. Well, the thing when we were, it's embarrassing to admit, but when we started shooting, the internet didn't really exist.
That's true.
And so we wouldn't get any feedback. Honestly, I don't think we really got any feedback until I first started coming to a Comic-Con. That's the real first time I ever had real interaction with fans saying what the show might have meant to them or how they felt about the show or anything like that. So we were doing it kind of on an island, and the internet was in its infancy, so it did sort of exist, but we weren't getting the kind of feedback they get now. And you know, right now it's automatic. You hear about it the day
Yeah, I
after
mean, there
an
was no
episode.
Twitter. There was none of that, so you didn't.
It was a kinder, simpler time.
Was.
But that's it. So now it's, you know, the feedback is automatic. And, you know, that can change what you do from week to week. It can. I really like what Netflix has done with their model, where they'll go and shoot an entire season and then air the whole season and not sort of be reactionary, you know, just do what they want to do creatively, and then everybody can see it as one big, you know, series. I prefer that myself.
Yeah, with a vision, like someone's approaching it with a vision. Well, I mean, adding to that, though, again, this was a bit of a wasteland as far as superhero genre shows at the time. This was just not happening. You guys were really out there, and there was a couple things maybe on the big screen. Talk a little bit about the trust that was important for you guys to establish between each other, just going into this scary landscape. I mean, how did you sort of establish, like, okay, we're in this together, our characters' names are right up front, and we have to rely on one another?
Well, no, I think
She's really smart, and so I'll just blurt stuff out, but she'll actually think about it first.
No, I think you're gonna agree with me that there's.
I agree.
Okay. There's. Okay, that was always there. That thing that just happened is just a natural thing between us. That timing, the way our personalities sort of organically, like chemistry, something. I mean, we never screen tested together. Like, I can't, it's crazy how big of an accident, the happy accident that ended up being. But what I was going to say is, for me, it isn't in hindsight. Like 20 years later, I can look back on it, because you asked that question, like, yeah, we should have thought about that. We should have like gotten together and been like, hey, Dean, hey, Teri, you know, our names.
That's how we talked back then.
Yeah.
Our names are on the top of this thing, and we better really protect ourselves. Like, we should have. I guess we should. But in hindsight, you go, at least I go, like, wow, we both worked really hard to a lot of hours every day to try to put our all into what people wrote on the page, and in terms of like bringing these characters to life and making it seem like, you know, grounded in something real and human. And I don't know. I don't know. But on a day-to-day basis, I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think we thought about it that much.
No, that's the beauty of being me. I'm not that smart.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to think about all that stuff. I just kind of went. But this is actually interesting, because even the dynamic here, you know, I think Lois Lane drove the show, and I still think Teri by far is the greatest Lois Lane of all time. It's 100% true, and Lois drove things, and I think Clark was more reactionary to the things that happened with Lois, and I thought that was I think that's fantastic. And the thing is, you know, about chemistry on screen, nobody knows how to do that. Nobody knows how to put it. There's no perfect thing to put together. You just don't know until you see it. You see real couples go out there, and they're on screen, and you know the review comes in, there was no chemistry, and that's an awful, terrible feeling. You just don't know what happens, but somehow in the balance of our personalities and who we are, it worked really, really well. And I know that in every scene, virtually, I had my partner, and I had to depend on her, and she drove it. So for me, it was just a natural thing that we didn't think about consciously, but it just sort of happened, and thank God it did.
So that organic chemistry, like that's the best kind, yeah. Hello.
Oh, hey guys, full disclosure at the beginning, I'm actually watching the show right now on the DCU streaming platform.
So you don't even know what happens.
I just have finished up to like the end of the second season as of this moment.
Oh, it's a good moment.
Oh, it's good. But
You do know that the statute of limitations for spoilers is like way past on this show.
No, I take full responsibility.
Okay, just want to say we're gonna go there, but okay, go on.
I'm just gonna say one thing real quick. Clark, Superman, you'll never see them in the same room together.
But we did. Projection.
Well done. Well done.
Touche, sir.
Hey.
But actually, this question is for Teri, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, you had a set of difficulty getting work immediately after Lois and Clark.
No, I had a baby.
That would do it.
And that counts as a lot of work.
That was a lot of work.
But that's one of these.
Yeah. But like,
That's a mic drop. You should go.
but I'm interested in, what was the journey of going from Lois and Clark to Desperate Housewives, like that, like.
Okay, well, so it's different than what you're kind of putting on it, I guess, projecting on it.
You're wrong.
Yeah, well,
Take it.
that would be one way to say it. But the truth is, I was 4 months pregnant when the 4th season of Lois and Clark wrapped, and I don't know, you know, I'm sure it is a long story about if that had something to do with why we didn't do a 5th season or whatever. But anyway, when I grew up an only child, and my parents both worked from the time I was like 6 weeks old. I was a latchkey kid, you know, that blah, blah, your whole childhood. But one thing as a mom, really consciously, I did not want to be that kind of parent. So I very purposefully, and you know what? Thank you, but also I really considered myself blessed. A lot of people are not in the position to ever make that choice. So I felt very lucky that I was in a position to be able to say, I don't want to work right now. And so I didn't I mean, I did actually do cabaret on the road for 7 months. I did do Spy Kids. I did a couple of things that I could bring my daughter with me, and they were short. But I knew there was no way I wanted to be on a television show schedule while I was raising my child. So that was like a good 4 years. And then around then, I started to be like, maybe I should look for work again. And Desperate Housewives was one of the first scripts that came along, and everybody, I think the thing I got luckiest from in terms of getting that role, one reason was, I did have one of the best auditions of my life that day, but two, a lot of people didn't want to audition, and they had a really strict rule on Desperate Housewives. Everyone, no matter who you were, no matter what your resume said, you had to audition to be in that show. And so there were people that didn't audition, and so I did, and I got it, and that's how that happened.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Hey, enjoy watching the seasons on the DC Universe. Hi.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm a huge fan of Superman, as you can see.
We can tell.
And that's all Mike, too, by the way. I'm going to throw it out there.
Yeah, Dean Cain, you're awesome. I met you at the New Jersey Comic-Con, I believe, and
Much respect, my friend. Wearing that suit gets all the respect you need.
two quick things. How did Clark afford that huge New York apartment on an entry-level salary? It's still bad for me to this day. And another thing, what was your favorite moments, each one of you, what was your favorite moment in the entire series that just like captured the essence of Lois and Clark?
I love the apartment question, because when I walked that thing, I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
Clark. Maybe it was just like, maybe it was a rundown space, and he just sort of super cleaned it up. I don't know.
That's right.
I don't know what that is. Do you want to start with a favorite moment? I have a favorite.
Well, the one, I don't know if it's my favorite moment, because actually now that I'm just thinking about it, it was fairly torturous to film. But the iconic moment, I mean, the moment where I recall just going, oh my God, what is this show we're doing, was from the pilot, in that shot where Superman flies Lois Lane in the Daily Planet window and then down to her desk. And that, I mean, in those days, it was a crane shot, and a whole really difficult, but so huge and so all-encompassing in terms of, you've got the flying, but you've got the romance, you know, the heroism. You'll also have the newsroom. That was a huge moment. But personally, I think my favorite episode, I think I've said this before, was the honeymoon in Metropolis. And we had all these scenes where we're stuck in the hotel room. And to me, that was the most romantic comedy-esque work. You know, they were just small scenes, like in the bathtub or whatever, but I was doing a lot of physical comedy and and I don't know, that's my wheelhouse. Like, that's just where I'm having the most fun. So I kind of remember that.
Yeah, I told you she was a thinker.
I have too long of answers. I'm sorry.
Oh, they're great.
No, it's fantastic. That is true. That's funny. That moment of flying through the newsroom was pretty unbelievable and pretty amazing. I just thought it was fun. I was like, this is great fun. My favorite moment really comes in about, I think it's about where he is right now at the end of season 2, where Clark is proposing to Lois. Something about that moment to me was so magical. And she asks, who's asking, you know, Clark or Superman? That kind of like was the whole show for me, and I thought it was just a great moment. Of course, it had to rain during his proposal because, you know, that's the way it works for Clark. But I think that was a great moment. And they're struggling for their relationship and all. I just think that moment kind of sums up the show. So that was my favorite moment. Although Teri in a bathtub, not that bad either. So.
This series was also known for sort of the kind of 2 weddings, I guess, you know, sort of the fake out and then the real one that was tied into the comics. When you were learning about these plans, did you fully embrace it? Did you think, well, this is a little bit wacky? Or, I mean, just sort of what was your reactions when you found out that they're going to do the fake out and then, okay, now for reals this time?
Dun, dun, dun.
No, I gotta say, I don't remember. Isn't that awful? Like, Those are things I don't remember, but I will tell you, maybe because at that time, I was much less aware of the comic books or how a TV show attaches to the comic books, or, you know, what the bigger Warner Brothers or DC Universe, like what are all those conversations? Now, I actually live downtown Los Angeles around the corner from a really cool comic book store, and I've become a totally authentic comic book geek. So in the last 2 years, I've become obsessed with Saga, with Paper Girls, with actually this new comic book, Faith. It's a Valiant comic book. So, and many more, I could go on. But I think it's given me educationally like an understanding of the comic book world that I just didn't pay attention to at all at that time. So I don't think I realized they were doing a wedding in the comic book and a wedding. I don't remember knowing that.
Well, let me just say on behalf of New York, welcome to the tribe.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be in the tribe. I love it. I did this thing called the Wednesday Club on Nerdist.com a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if anybody watches that. And we talked about Saga, and I actually made food on the show too. And I'm into it. I love the comic people. Love it. Love it. I'm one of you.
I'd love to like see the comic book store that she goes into. Guy's like, hello, welcome. Turns to his buddy, he's like, dude, you know who that is? Don't say anything. You don't say anything. I'm not gonna say anything. Why is she's not buying any Superman stuff? She's buying everything else. What's going on?
She doesn't need to buy it. She lived it, man.
Well said. When it gets back to the wedding stuff, you know, it wasn't like they were going, Dean, Teri, you know, what do you guys think we should do, where we should take this show? So we weren't able to tell them what we wanted to do. And for me personally, what I had wanted, I didn't want the fake out wedding. I wanted them to get married and start having kids and just explore territory that hadn't been explored. I would have loved to have seen that. From those characters, and that's where I would have loved to see it go. But again, they weren't asking us what was happening. And then, you know, the fake wedding, and then there was frogs and stuff like that, which was just, it got odd, let's be honest. It got a little odd there.
That's why I don't remember.
Yeah, exactly.
I blocked it out.
Eating frogs. She's like, no, gone. But I was really happy when they did get married, and I thought, you know, people say, oh, that kills the show. I disagree. I think that would have made, they could have tried to break new ground and do more stuff with them as a married couple. And like I said, again, I'd love to see where they are now, 25 years later, and as a married couple, and a couple little Earth Kryptonian kids running around. Yeah. Let's do it.
Hey, Ruby, what's your question?
Hey, Aaron. Hey, Dean.
Hello, Ruby. I helped this man get married. I'm going to throw it out there. And it's not what you're thinking. What are you thinking? I helped him propose. There we go.
Oh, that's so nice.
And they're still married, right? You are still married, right?
Yes, Dean.
Okay,
thank you for talking about my wife.
Sorry about that.
Anyways, on the final episode, there was a mysterious baby at the doorstep. So let's push this further. Where do you see Lois and Clark and the baby 25 years from now? Is the baby a hero? Is Clark, Superman, still in action? Is Lois editor in Daily Planet? Where do you see?
I could see the baby having been sort of a Kryptonian child or something, and they had to let that child go back to wherever it was. I can see them having a couple of crypto Earth kids themselves who are maybe teenagery now. Because I have a kid who's 18 now, and Teri's got a college student. So we've been through that sort of parenthood stuff in our real life. And I think, like, Lois Lane's probably mayor of Metropolis, running stuff.
Yeah.
Clark's still pushing paper and pencil, the Daily Planet, and trying to get stories. But I could see that. I could definitely see that happening. That's where I'd like to see him.
Yeah, I think both of us have independently explored, like in pretty serious ways. I'm trying to figure out what the story would be and if anybody would do the reboot. And I feel like I know you. I got as far as, you know, some people at Warner Brothers and whatever, and it's a complicated sell, I guess, because they have their own plan for all of their superheroes. You know what I mean? And it's like, how many movies are they doing, and who's playing Superman? You know, what's age as Superman in those movies. And so I think it gets really complicated. That said, my imagination went a little darker, I think.
Well, that about says it all, doesn't it?
And a little, no, but I sort of imagined, okay, what if they had had this kid, and when they had the kid, part of like the way it worked was the kid would start to have the powers, and Superman would not have had the powers because they couldn't both have the powers. And then I thought maybe as the kid was getting older, like now, like the teenager, like you said, the late teenager, like he's struggling with trying to figure out what to do with his powers as a teenager would, and maybe he's making bad choices, and so
as teenagers do.
And so the dad, Superman, would have to somehow get his powers back. Like, I'm imagining that you didn't have your powers all this time. And then I was mostly thinking about a marriage where you stay together, like that the marriage dynamic was difficult. That when you didn't have your powers and Lois was working, that like was emasculating and not great and struggling. I know, right? I know. But stay with me. Stay with me. Then.
Wow.
Yeah, I told you it was dark. But then, so once the kid is like out of the picture, then Lois and Clark really have to figure out, should we stay married? Like, do you stay in a marriage? And then Lois has to help Clark get his powers back so that he can help his son be a better person. That was kind of where I was going.
I don't get to keep my powers?
I lost you at you lose your powers.
I didn't hear anything past that. What?
What? Yeah.
Somewhere there's a good story, though.
Yeah.
All between our thoughts and everything.
Yeah.
But on that point that you made about Warner Brothers everything being so complicated about where it's going to go and how many movies, maybe that's why Marvel's kicking their butts in the movies these days. I don't know. All right, you tell me. Are the DC movies better than the Marvel movies? Are the Marvel movies better than the DC movies? My point has been made.
This is like turning into like a full-on geek out on here. Your geeky stories, you're stoking the fan debate. It's like, it's out of control.
You've lost control.
I know,
Bring it back.
Went off the rails. All right, but I have faith in you. You've got a question. You're going to bring it back.
Yes, I will.
All right.
Jonathan, and this is for Dean Cain. My question is, so you've done Lois and Clark, and you also did Hit the Floor. You got lucky with Teri Hatcher and Kimberly Ellis. If you were the person to pick Lois Lane, who would it be between Teri Hatcher and Kimberly Ellis?
I don't know that that's really bringing it back, by the way.
I did just take away his powers. I did do that.
Yeah.
So.
Good point. Kimberly Elise, wonderful, fantastic actress. Loved working with her on Hit the Floor. She was amazing. She's one of the most talented actresses that I've ever worked with. That being said, if I'm picking Lois, I'm picking Teri Hatcher every time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
With or without my powers. With or without my powers, I'm still picking her.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. First of all, I'm not Clark Kent. I just look like this.
Likely story.
But I was wondering, I'm a huge fan of like the legacy castings when they brought Christopher Reeve on Smallville and you guys were on Smallville and then on Supergirl. What, as you're the actors going in that have done it before, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like, proud, or is it just another job, or how are you affected by being called into Smallville or Supergirl?
Oh, well, I mean, as I said before, I really think the first and foremost thought that I had about whether or not I would do Supergirl was sort of trying to honor fans by saying, I have a feeling you'll think this is cool, so I'm going to do this. And so that's who I did it for. Same thing with Smallville. It was a very little isolated thing, but I figured that the fans would really like that it made it was like a nice like homage or like a nod to my sort of respect for the world. So I think if you make a choice to be involved, you're doing it to respect and honor the fans.
Yeah, agreed. I love being part of that whole world and that universe. A lot of people who've played a character that is pretty iconic, actors will say, don't call me Joey from Friends, although he was pretty good. And you're still going to be like, Joey. You do that, and that's what happens. And but being part of that, when Christopher Reeve went and he went on Smallville, I think that was sort of the linchpin of saying, okay, well, if my Superman's going to go and do this, I certainly want to be a part of that. And I think he set the standard for that. And I love to embrace being part of that world because just like anybody else out there, I'm a fan of it. So I enjoy it. I get a kick out of seeing Linda Carter play the president and things like that. I think it's great fun. So I think we probably enjoy it as much as, maybe not quite as much as, but just a little bit less than fans might.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and within your show, obviously Lois and Clark, there's a lot of lifting that you guys have to do, but the show really came alive with the other characters on it as well, such as Lane Smith or John Shea, and I just want, I want you guys to talk a little bit about them and other folks on the cast that just sort of really fleshed out this world and how they contributed to, the overall show.
I just want to talk about Teri. Can we just talk about Teri?
No, let's stop talking about Teri. I mean, everybody was amazing, and it didn't matter how big or small. No, we had amazing people. I mean, Lane Smith was just...
was a legend, and
really
rest in peace,
legendary.
Lane. He was fantastic as Perry White. He was amazing.
But every single character made the whole. Mm-hmm. Like there was no weak link in it. Yeah.
It was also really fun to have Ma and Pa Kent.
Oh, I love them.
I loved having them around for a nice sense of,
I mean, they're just so perfect. I can't.
Phenomenal.
When I think of those characters, I can't not picture them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah. I don't picture Kevin Costner. No offense. By the way, why didn't Superman save him right then? Seriously. That made me so mad. I would have saved him. I'm throwing it out there. I would have saved him. But Ma and Pa Kent being there and being sort of, as any parent would do, taking care of their kids. I remember, being pulled by the ear by Kay Callan into the room, and she was berating me. But that sort of stuff made it so much fun. And I think, all the characters were fantastic. And to be in that world, they did a great job. And certainly it wouldn't have been, without everybody being fantastic, it wouldn't have been that wonderful a world. And it was great.
Yeah, and they really imbued, everybody together, imbued this series with, optimism, some hope and optimism, which I think is, I happen to like in my Superman, so.
I happen to feel the same way.
And so do 5 of those people out there. Take a question over here. Hey.
Hi, Teri. Hi, Dean.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Brian. So I grew up watching Lois and Clark, and it was one of my favorite shows as a kid, and you guys are really my Superman and Lois Lane for my whole life, basically. So my question is actually, though, about Supergirl. So kind of following off of Clark Kent's question over there just now, sort of kind of embellishing on it a bit, I guess you guys got to work with, these fresh faces. They're doing a really great job portraying the Superman, Supergirl universe, mostly Supergirl. So as characters and as actors, I guess they sort of probably looked up to you guys as mentors in a way. I mean, you guys and the Wonder Woman and Supergirl, all the old cast members.
Don't say old.
Oh, all the long time.
Previous
cast
Many
members.
other words.
So I was wondering if, on the set, I'm sure you guys got a lot of a chance to interact with them, and if there was any, one big piece of advice you gave to any particular cast member, each of you, while you were there, what was it like, or even just a pep talk or something as a mentor sort of person being there for them. And I know they stand on their own really well, but I'm sure they were starstruck to have you guys with them. So
was there a moment where you gave any advice or kind of spoke to the current cast members? I mean, they were already well into their show at this point when you arrived, and when you came back.
I was there day one.
Right. So, okay. Take
Yeah,
that.
I had a conversation. Yeah, I was in the pilot episode, and we discovered, you know, Supergirl came to. You forgot. Shame on you. But I had a conversation with Melissa, and because when you're shooting a series like this, and as she's two of the three characters, you know, she's got to be Kara Danvers, and she has to be Supergirl. There's a lot. It's a huge amount of work. It's impossible to explain how much work that is. And I mean, a typical day for us was 18 hours door to door. Typical. That's just a regular day. And some days we shot 22 hours. Do you remember this? Oh my gosh, so much fun. 22 hours. You know, you're barely awake, and you're there more than what you are at home. And so what I said to Melissa early on, I said, you know, congratulations, it's fantastic and everything. And I said, when you're shooting this series, when you're shooting the show, understand that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And you have to make sure you take care of yourself and have your time for you as you're going through this, or else, you know, your life gets stripped away. And so I did have that conversation with her, and she seems to be doing a heck of a job. She really does.
Awesome. And Teri, did you have one?
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think I offered them any advice. I don't think they were doing really well. I don't think they needed advice. I mean, they were super welcoming and friendly, and I felt included, but I didn't feel higher or lower than anybody. You know, I mean, it just felt like I was an actor there trying to do a good job with the character that I was doing within the context of their world. But I agree, and maybe she took your advice, but I agree that if I was going to give a piece of advice, that would be it. It's just, you know, to really try to take care of yourself, because it's a lot. It can really get away from you. It's a lot, yeah. But they're great. They're just such a great group of people.
Mm-hmm. When you're on those sets, and now in Vancouver, but I know you started out in LA with Supergirl, but
Actually, right on the Warner Brothers lot where we shot.
Yeah.
That's where they started. Originally shot right at the Warner Brothers lot.
Oh, did they?
It did, right there. It was the strangest thing to be there and then not be flying around. It's like, who's that girl flying around?
It's just like, how about if Jeremiah had a cape? You know,
I suggested it. They were like, no, get out of here.
Yeah. But when you're on those sets, I mean, they're pretty cool, and they do you guys, have you been on the sets and been like, man, look at all these wonderful toys?
Oh, the Reyes spaceship?
Yeah.
Wow. It was like a movie. I mean, the set decorating, the art decoration, and the DP, and it was pretty spectacular. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, there was a little bit of, I told you earlier, I had some costume envy. I had a little bit of set envy too. It's possible.
Set envy.
It's a little set envy. They do a great job. It's fantastic, and you know, it's different now because we shot on film.
Yeah.
So they shoot digitally, so they're never having to reload camera, do things that we used to have to do all the time back in the archaic days of the 90s.
You know, because we're old.
Yeah. We are old, yeah. As he reminded us, because he's like, when I was a kid and you guys were already adults, we'll find you. Yeah, so they do a great job, and they really keep a high level of production up there, and like, you know, there's sets like the DEO and places like that. There's walk around, everything works. You know, you're like, wow, that's real. That really this whole thing comes down. Wow, we didn't have that.
Like little
we had like
iPads
6 guys
in the doors.
It was cool though. It's a great set. They're doing a great job.
Hi there.
Hey, Dean. Hi, Teri. How are you guys doing today?
Good, thank you.
Good, good. My name is Ryan. I've been a huge fan ever since I was a kid watching Lois and Clark.
He did it again.
He
did it again.
On Channel 7. I watched
I'm
it all
sorry, I
the time.
can't hear you. You're going to have to speak up, Sonny. I can't hear you.
My question is, if there was one comic book superhero that you would play today, Marvel or DC, which character would you guys like to play today?
Woo!
I mean,
bring it.
Do you have anything?
I don't know if I even have anything.
Yeah, I almost want to give you a pass, because that almost gets in the way of potential jobs, like, you know.
Or you can say it like this. The first one that calls me.
Good answer.
I will say though, I really like the first Captain America when they went back in, you know, in the 50s and that whole thing. That was amazing. I really loved it. Maybe because I'm a history guy, and I really loved it. But I saw the film and I was like, dang it, like to be in that one. Then I saw Deadpool, and I was like, dang it, like to be in that one too. And then there was Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was like, dang it. Who's this Chris Pratt guy? He's awesome. They're fantastic. So, you know, the next one that calls.
Yeah. All right. Hi.
Hi, my name is Viviana. My question is, during one of the episodes of Lois and Clark, Clark was helping Lois pick a question to ask their president. So I'm actually going to ask you the same question, which is, if in baseball, what position would you play and why?
Oh, okay, good. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
Based on the show.
I'm going to allow this question.
Wait, I was just, what just happened?
So, in baseball, what position would you play and why?
Okay.
I know it took a turn, but I'm happy about that turn.
Yeah. I was getting all ready to say something, then I was like, wait, that's not going to fit. Okay. Wait, so the question is, what position would I play in baseball?
Yeah, in baseball, what position would you play and why? This question is for both of you.
Thank you for letting us off the hook, Viviana.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
I was going to say that Clark wouldn't tell Lois what to ask anybody. I think she'd come up with it on her own. But I'm going to jump into the baseball thing.
Yeah, go right ahead. That sounds like a good idea.
I played baseball for a long time. I enjoyed. There you go. And I enjoyed playing it. I did a show called Clubhouse for a while where I played third base. I don't have the arm to make that throw from third base anymore, so I'm not going to play that. But I would probably play center field, which is a lot like what I played as a football player, as a free safety. So I'd take center field, so I could be out there by myself, just kind of going. I'm going to go with that.
Isn't there a position where y'all have dirty minds?
I know, gosh, guys.
'Cause that is not what I was going to say. Isn't there something where the person runs for the other person?
A pinch runner?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to be.
You'll be a pinch runner.
I'm going to be that.
You're not going to have to work that much.
No, but I'm a pretty fast little sprinter.
They don't.
So.
You are. They don't put a lot of pinch runners in baseball games, but bless you.
Okay.
Great. You get to hang out a lot.
Good.
There you go.
There you go.
Thank you, Viviana.
Thank you.
Hey guys, my question is, did you guys get any season 5 scripts or story beats before you shut down production? Did you know where the show was going to head if they had done a 5th season?
Great question. No. I mean, I really wanted to know where we were going and do things and find out, but they didn't really, again, they didn't bring us in and go like, okay, Teri, Dean, where do you think we should go? And things like, we had conversations about it, but they didn't, they had their own ideas, and I really don't know where they were going. I was hoping they were going toward, you know, having some kids and things and stuff where I'd like to see it go now. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
Kind of a letdown, sorry.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, really, like, DC Comics has done a great job by doing, like, the Batman 66 comic book, the Linda Carter Wonder Woman comic book. I mean, this is, I mean, I know they know what they're doing, but it would be ripe material for, like, a great comic book, a Lois and Clark season 5, you know? So
That is a good idea.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. Although we wouldn't
benefit
participate
from
or benefit and get anything out of it in any way.
Actually,
but
it's a terrible
we'd be happy
idea.
for you guys.
It's a terrible idea.
Terrible
Let's make the show.
Miniseries, yeah.
Yeah, that's a better idea. Or we could do both. Both together.
Hi.
Hello, hi. My name is Rochelle. I'm a big fan, and it was wonderful to grow up watching the show with a strong female role model in Lois Lane, played by Teri, and of course, a man of great integrity in Clark Kent, played by Dean. So my question for both of you is, what's been the best compliment and also maybe the best constructive criticism you've received from your work in Lois and Clark?
I think the nicest thing that I have ever heard, and it happens at Comic-Cons and things like that, what we had never heard this while we were doing the show, is that people will come up and share with me, with Teri, what the show meant to them as a young person, because we were old, But as you know, growing up, so whether it's they had to get their homework done before they could watch the show, or if they were going through a hard time in high school, or if they were bullied or ostracized in some way, the characters helped them get through that, stuff like that. Or they sat down with their grandmother or their grandfather or their parents, and they really bonded over watching the show. Being a parent, I know how I feel about sitting down with my son to watch certain shows, and we have shows that are like our shows. We watch the entire Friday Night Lights 18 seasons together and things like that. So that's the kind of thing that when people say that to me, I know what a part it plays in sort of our lives, and I love to hear from people that it played a part in their life and maybe helped them through things and was sort of a bright light in their life. And it's an awesome feeling to get. So share stories with me when you come up, because I want to hear them.
Yeah, I totally agree that is the most heartwarming thing, and so many people share those stories about where they remember watching it and who they were with. And somebody just today was saying that he watched it with his mom and that she had passed away a couple years ago, and that he hangs on to those memories. So that's a beautiful thing. Nobody's ever had any constructive or non-constructive criticism.
I've heard some non-constructive criticism, but yeah, nobody criticizes us.
Well, the S shield, the Superman logo.
Now he has to criticize us.
So I know. Yeah. So
there it is.
There was that one episode, Dean. No, I mean, like, arguably anywhere you go in the world, people recognize the Superman logo, and when you're part of a project, a Superman project, you're part of a still relatively small fraternity, really, of people that have been. I mean, just the gravity of that. Does it ever just sort of set in? You're like, wow, okay. Superman's been around for 80 years, and I'm part of a small group of people who have done this, recognized throughout the world. Does that kind of gravity just set in?
Well, it just did now.
Yeah, yeah. Holy smokes.
Again, I think we sort of alluded to this before, like when we were in it, when we were really in it, I don't know that we were thinking about that sort of reflection of it, but certainly, just after seeing how long the fans of the show have hung in there, you definitely get that you're a part of something
big,
special and big. Yeah, yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I like it. What's weird is that you forget that it's worldwide, or these things happen worldwide. I was in China, like in the middle of nowhere, China. I was walking down the street, and the guy's like, Superman. I was like, whoa, that's awesome. That kind of a thing just catches you by surprise.
Yeah.
Whoa. So I think that's great when that does happen, and you forget how many people can see stuff. I did a Chinese accent. I did my best for it. I'm Japanese. I can do that. That doesn't make any sense, does it? No, but it's great to be able to be a part of that thing, and it's much bigger than obviously us, and the numbers of people who have played the roles is constantly expanding. They're doing more and more, and I think it's I love it. It's something that I love to be associated with. Happy to do so forever.
The great growth of that is that there's all these incredible actors that bring their own very unique spin to it and sort of bring it alive in a whole new way when you go see whatever that that format is of it. So it's great to be a part. It doesn't mean you're a bigger part or smaller part. You know what I mean?
Right.
Each one is different, and that's great.
Yeah.
Except that we were a bigger part.
You were the bigger part.
Yeah.
We were a very big part.
Okay, we only have time for, I think, probably one more question. So I'm gonna.
Ultra Woman.
Oh,
Oh,
look at
hi.
that! Wow.
You look great.
Costume.
That's amazing. You look amazing. Is that as hard to wear? I remember it being sort of hard to wear.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, I know.
So what's your question?
Sorry, I had to say it.
Hi guys, I want you to know I was your age watching your show, so I didn't grow up watching you. Had the full-on crush, Terry, so
Awesome.
And you are not old, sir.
Well, I mean, but we're I didn't grow up watching you. I watched you with you, so.
Yes.
How did you guys feel when you first saw the script where they were portraying Lois Lane as the dumbest woman in the universe, Clark Kent, Superman? Because when I saw it, it was hilarious because really you didn't think about it until you drove the point home on the show, and I'm just like,
Wow. Ooh.
I thought it was pretty funny. Well, it was Tempest that said that. He was like, right, he had the glasses on. He's like, duh, right? That was a good moment. I thought it was funny. But again, for us, Clark was the guy, and the actual disguise was Superman. So that'd be a tough one to do, you know, to do the reverse. I'm not even going to try it. But I thought it was it was making fun of ourselves.
I think, yeah, and I think it's a conceit of the comic book that you just have to accept and get. You know, if you're really gonna rationalize it and whatever, it would be ridiculous. You'd get so hung up on it, like, well, I couldn't possibly be smart because this is so stupid. You know, you just have to know that, like, that's an accepted thing in the world of the story, and then just move beyond it.
But I like that in that sense. We were in on the joke. You know, we were making fun of ourselves and that. And I think that you kind of have to do that.
And thank you very much for both being here this weekend.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all for coming, too. Seriously.
Thanks for coming.
This is awesome.
So you have 30 seconds to ask and get a question answered. So go. This is going to be the last one.
Okay, first, my name is Stan Lee, and I do prefer DC or Marvel.
Okay.
Stan Lee.
Stan Lee, what's your question?
In Lois and Clark, Dean played the alien, Terry played the human, but in Supergirl, it was the sort of role reversal with Terry playing the alien and Dean playing the human. What was the dynamic of that, the difference in the dynamic, and which one was more challenging?
Totally different. Do we have to answer quickly, too? Yes.
Well, you can take your
10 seconds, 5 seconds. Okay, I know.
Go, Terry.
Totally different. But as I said before, Rhea was the first time that I thought, oh, I don't have to think of this person as a human. I don't have to give this person human morality. She can just be whatever, because who knows where she came from. And yeah, so to not be sort of grounded in what my expectations of a human being's behavior would be was really fun.
And for playing Jeremiah Danvers, I was just bummed that I couldn't fly. So I was really happy when I got like a bionic arm. I thought that was great. So I got some powers back. We'll see what happens. I'm still alive on the show, so we'll see what happens.
He's got time to learn how to fly.
He can fly.
So New York Comic Con, on that note, this was a heck of a lot of fun. Please give it up for Teri Hatcher and Dean Cain.
Thank you so much. Oh, wow, look how many people are there. Well done. Thank you all very much.
That's not big enough, folks. Give them a huge round of applause. Come on, everybody, huge round of applause. Once again, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Hi, I'm Jackie Jennings with SYFY WIRE. If you can't get enough of New York Comic Con, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel for news, interviews, cosplay, and so much more. What are you waiting for?